y'all, this is Teresa.
And Mark.
And we're your hosts for
Tell Me That Story,
where we'll tell y'all true stories of real life happenings.
So stick around. You never know what you might hear. Well, hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us on Tell Me That Story. I hope y'all have had a good week. Teresa, you had a good week?
I had a really good week, and I'm so excited about today's podcast.
I am too. We've got a special guest in the studio today.
Yay!
We have our daughter Lizzie in the studio today. She is 15 years old, going on 30.
Going on 30.
Going on 30.
Hello, Lizzie. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. It's one of those times when you say you brought them kicking and screaming. This may be one of those times.
Yeah, we kind of had to drag her in here, but I think it's going to be okay once she gets over the nervous part.
What do you think about that, Lizzie?
Well, I was kind of forced into it and guilt-tripped a little bit, but it'll be all right.
How in the world what do you mean you were guilt-tripped into it?
Well, I bought a guitar. I put a guitar on layaway a couple weeks ago, and I had about around $300 left to pay on it. And Mama was like, well, you have $90, and if you pay that, then I'll pay the rest of it. You can just pay me back. So she did that today. And so now she's guilt-tripping me. She's like, oh, well, I paid your guitar out, so you need to be on the podcast. So here I am.
Well, I don't know how fair that is, but hey, do what you got to do. Do what you got to do. So if it takes that, then we'll just go ahead and go with it. So whatever.
So what are we going to talk about today?
I wanted to talk about the faith of a child. When she was little, Lizzie was younger. I mean, there were some things that took place, and I just wanted to tell at least one little aspect of a story that we've shared several times, but I want to hear it from her point of view today, and I thought the listeners would enjoy that.
So I want to say I was about 11 or 12, and I had told Mama a little bit earlier. I said, I don't feel like God really hears my prayers. And she says, well, just pray about something that only you know about. Just don't talk about it to anybody else. Just pray for something. I said, okay. And I had been wanting a black lab puppy. I really wanted one. And so I started praying for that. I was praying, Lord, I just want you to give me a friend and a black lab puppy. So
What were you going to name the puppy?
I was going to name him Roscoe. And
You watched too much Dukes of Hazzard growing up.
we had how many pets named after Dukes of Hazzard characters?
Had Flash and Daisy and
Yeah. But so now we got Roscoe. But anyways, so we were on our way to town one day, and I was in the back of the car. I don't know if Mama knows this, but I was in the back of the car, and I was actually pretty sad that day.
So we had gone to town, and we were at Lowe's, and so she didn't know that I had planned something. So I had gotten a message. I'll let her finish in a second. I had gotten a message about from a friend of Mark's. It was a friend of ours, but it was a really close friend of Mark's, and said, do y'all would y'all be interested in a puppy? And I said, what kind of puppy? And he told me it was a black lab. And now we knew that, I mean, his Labrador retrievers were special dogs.
Yeah, this dog's grandfather was Deke, the Ducks Unlimited dog. So these are high-dollar dogs. They came from Wild Rose Kennels in North Mississippi. They're one of the biggest British lab kennels in the United States, and he sells these dogs for way more money than we could afford to spend on one.
Absolutely. And so, but he had contacted me and asked me, and I said something to Mark, and he was like, yeah. So I met out at Lowe's, and I think I sent the kids in. Did I send y'all in, Lizzie, or or do you remember the whole thing?
Well, let's back up a minute. He called and said he had one puppy left, and it was the runt, and nobody wanted it because it was the runt. And he said, do you think your kids might be interested in it? And I said, absolutely.
Yeah, and so I just ended up going to meet them out there at Lowe's parking lot. And Lizzie, I'll let you take it from there.
Well, it was me, my brother Gage and our Aunt Diane. She was with us that day too. And we went inside to Lowe's. We were looking around in the garden section, and Mama left like to go to the parking lot. We didn't know where she went, and I was so confused. She was like, "I'll be back in a few minutes." I was like, "Okay." So we were just hanging out in there with Aunt Diane, and then she comes in with a puppy, and I didn't see it at first, but I saw it, and I just started bawling in the middle of the Lowe's garden center. I mean, I was ugly crying for like a couple hours after that.
I know, and I really didn't understand why she was so moved upon by this dog. But she was sitting in the back seat, and she was holding the dog, and she was just, like she said, ugly crying. And I didn't know what was going on. But then I found out something a little bit later.
So yeah, that's my baby. I absolutely love him. He gets on my nerves sometimes, but I won't let Daddy be mean to him at all. He makes fun of him, and I just
he's a great dog.
He's a big baby. I love him.
I've had labs for years, and I'd say he's probably the best one we've had. He's a great dog. So smart and so sweet, and just a blessing to have.
He gets his feelings hurt so easy. If you get on to him for anything, he'll go and get in his bed and just stare at you. He won't wag his tail or nothing. He just holds his ears back, and he just looks so sad, and I feel so bad for him.
He's just a big old baby is all he is.
Yeah, he gets up in my lap in the recliner like his whole body self.
Yeah, like he's still a puppy.
But she had said that she just didn't feel like that God had heard her prayers. And so I told her to just pray about something that nobody knew about. And that's what she started praying about, for God to send her a friend, send her did you specifically say black lab, Lizzie?
I did. And I got choked up earlier when I was talking about it, but I was in the back of the car on the way to town, and I was actually kind of crying a little bit in the back of the car, and I don't think anybody like realized that I was. But I was really upset, and I was actually praying for a friend on the way to Lowe's, which is really funny to me now. And then I got there, and I got the dog, and it was a crazy moment. It was just crazy.
And you named him Roscoe.
I named him Roscoe.
And everybody loves Roscoe. Everybody loves Roscoe. He's just one of those dogs, when you walk through a store or something with him, everybody wants to come pet him, and he's just a great dog.
Yeah, he does get his feelings hurt really easy, though. And when we had our little candle and gift shop, in Louisiana there for a time, and he was our store dog. And then we ended up, when we moved to Tennessee, we ended up having we put our little business in a flea market. And he would come to the flea market, and everybody loved coming to the booth, which was great for me.
Yeah.
And petting Roscoe.
Like a mascot.
Yeah, and so everybody knew Roscoe, and they would make loops, every weekend to see Roscoe. So, but that's Lizzie's baby. That's all of our baby. But just the faith of a child, and she was able to learn from that experience, and I don't think that was something that she'll forget.
And we had one man that had, I think it was Parkinson's disease. He was in really bad shape, and he came every weekend to see Roscoe.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's the only reason he came. He would come just to see Roscoe, and he would leave.
Right, and his wife said that he was completely different after he would get to come and see Roscoe, that he was completely different for the rest of that day.
Yeah.
Just really highly uplifted. They were constantly bringing him a toy, bringing him a treat, bringing something, but just...
And even after he got where he wasn't able to leave the house anymore, you took Roscoe to visit a couple times.
I did. I took him over there. Me and Lizzie and I both took him over there, and allowed him to visit. So he's just a really special creation of God's.
Absolutely.
While I have Lizzie here, I want to talk about something else that is really kind of along the lines with her, though, and it's involving her and our son. So when she was, if you've not heard our fertility story or our infertility story, go back and listen to that podcast. But she was in the hospital when she was a baby, and we like to lost her. They had sent me home. They sent me home too early, and long story short, the ambulance had to come and get us. And she almost died. And we got back to the hospital. We were at the hospital, and the girl that was singing with us during that time, her mother was praying, and she was asking God if she was going to live, if she was going to be okay. You remember that, Mark?
I do. I remember she said that she asked God if for a sign, if she's going to be okay. I want to see show me an angel.
Right. She specifically asked God to show her an angel. And so I had actually forgotten about that. You mentioned that a moment ago, and it did bring that back to my mind. But she specifically asked God to show her an angel. And that's why we're talking about this today, because I wanted to talk about the faith of a child and how God speaks to children.
Yeah.
And so they were all in the waiting room. I don't remember where I was at the moment. I don't know if I was in the room I think they were letting me hold
Lizzie.
They were letting me hold her by that time, and I was in another room. But our son, we adopted him. He wasn't adopted at the moment right there. He was still our foster child, but he was living with us full time.
Yeah, he was like 4 years old.
Yeah, and so all of a sudden, he comes walking up to the lady that had prayed and asked God to let her see an angel if Lizzie was going to be okay. And suddenly, he has 3 little papers. No, it was 2. Was it 2 papers?
It was 2.
In his hand, and there was, it was kind of like tissue paper. It wasn't even like a coloring sheet.
Yeah.
But
I don't even know where he got it.
It was so thin, and it was like it was kind of cut out. It was not it's not a whole sheet of paper. It was just kind of like a little piece of paper. And there was 2 of them, and one of them had one angel on it. It was like a coloring book kind of angel. Right. And then the other paper had 3 angels on there.
Yeah, and he had colored them.
Yeah. Well, he found them underneath the chair. He brought them to her, and she said, "Where did you get these?" And he said, he walked up and he said, "I'm supposed to give you these." That's what he said. "I'm supposed to give you this." Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember it now. But I thought he had colored them himself.
No, he found them.
Oh, okay.
He found them over there. They were colored.
Yeah.
But he said, "I'm supposed to give you this."
Yeah.
And she asked him where did he get it, and he had found it over there under the chair or on a chair in the waiting room.
We still have those at home somewhere.
I have them in the safe.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's, it's amazing. I've heard people say, if you want to get results, get a child praying, because their prayers are so pure and they pray in pure faith.
Yeah.
And they haven't learned to doubt like we have.
Right.
Their prayers are powerful.
Absolutely. And so I just want to encourage you today that, if you have a child, listen to what they're saying. Lizzie has told us other things, even as a young child, and just amazing things. I'll tell you something else. And they weren't expecting me to even say this, but Mark and I, we went on a cruise one time. Do you remember this?
Yes. I knew that's what you were going to say.
Did you? I saw you grinning at me.
I knew what was coming.
Well, we went on a cruise to the Bahamas, and you go somewhere and you get off the ship, and that was my first time out of the country. They started putting this necklace on you, and it happened so
they'll
quick
drive you crazy.
You couldn't hardly even stop it. It just happened so fast.
They want you to buy the necklace,
right?
And if you tell them no, I don't want to buy it, they'll just put it around your neck and give it to you.
So that happened, and then I just pulled the necklace right off my neck, threw it in the trash can, and kept on walking. Yeah. And I don't know if you kept it on or you put it in your pocket.
I think I put it in my pocket. I didn't wear it because they were wood and they were scratching my neck and they were uncomfortable, so I just took them off.
So this was when Lizzie was, very, very young. And, she was like a toddler. And my mom and dad had kept the kids for us while we went on that trip. And so anyhow, we got back, you put all your things away, and Lizzie's closet had a little room in there. So we put our some of our luggage things in that closet. So anyhow, she didn't want to sleep in that room. She wouldn't sleep in the room. And so we would try to send her to her room sometimes, and she would cry, and she'd say that there was a monkey in the closet.
Yeah, monkeys in the closet.
Do you remember that, Lizzie?
I do. I don't remember it happening. I remember you telling me several times, but I don't remember it happening, thank God, but
Thank God. So she would say there was a monkey in the closet. And so Mark, finally, he goes, well, come on and show me. And so he's holding her in his arms, and he takes her in there to the room, and he opens the door, and and she says, see? And she points right there. She's like, see it?
Yeah.
And
I didn't see a monkey. I didn't see anything.
Mark didn't see anything, but she saw a monkey, and tears were streaming down her face. And so anyhow, we didn't, we just kind of prayed. I mean, I think we just prayed for her to get over the spirit of fear or something like that. But not too long after that, I got to cleaning out the closet. I started cleaning the closet out one day, and I found a bag that we had taken to the Bahamas. And I just stuck my hand down in that bag, and what did I pull out but that stupid necklace?
That string of wooden beads.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so that was weird. So I threw the wooden beads away. I mean, I threw it away immediately.
And the monkeys never came back.
I know the monkey never came back. She wasn't afraid anymore. I mean, there was no more monkeys after that. That's so crazy.
Yeah. People don't believe in that stuff anymore, but spirits will attach to things. And we didn't realize until we got back, but there's a lot of voodoo and a lot of weird stuff in those places like that in the Bahamas. And I just think there were spirits attached to those beads. And people I know, I can hear the people rolling their eyes right now listening to this.
Yeah.
But it's true.
Well, we got off over there. I mean, I just couldn't hardly stay. I couldn't hardly stand staying over there. It just felt so yucky.
Yeah, I did not like it.
It felt yucky
all.
to me. It felt yucky. And even if I'd had my eyes closed, I mean, it was gorgeous water. The water was beautiful, but it just felt nasty.
It was
there.
like an oppressive spirit there. Very much like a dark cloud was over the whole place.
And I was just ready to get back on the ship.
Yeah, I didn't care for that very much.
Not
now, we
at
went
all.
to that island that we stopped at, the Coco Cay Island. Now, I enjoyed that. That was good. But Bahamas, I was not impressed.
No, I wasn't, because of what I could feel more than
Yeah.
anything. But anyhow, that's just, I just wanted to bring that out about listen to your child, listen to your children, and pray over their rooms. Sometimes you got to clean house. I mean, literally, you got to clean house.
Yeah, talking about those beads, there was a company, I don't think they're in business now, but there was a company years ago that made candles. And you could actually buy them in Walmart.
Absolutely.
I don't remember the brand. But come to find out, it was a coven of witches that made these candles.
Right.
And they would pray over these candles for these spirits to be released when this candle was burned.
Yep.
And there were so many people that would say since they started burning those candles, they were having demonic activities in their homes.
Right. And that's one of the things that I would tell people when we had our little candle shop. We were making candles and things like that. I'm like, look, we're not casting spells over candles. We're not. But you go to Walmart, you don't know what you're buying. You go to just a store, you don't know what you're buying and what you're releasing into your home.
Right. And there's so many people that believe in angels and angelic stuff, but you start talking about demons, they'll roll their eyes.
Yeah.
The spirit realm is both. It's angelic and demonic.
Yep.
It's absolutely real. And I heard a preacher say one time, if the devil's not bothering you, you're not bothering him. Well, you start you start living for the Lord and bothering the devil, he'll start bothering you.
Yeah.
It'll come. It'll happen.
So Lizzie's here with us, and she had a little something that took place just a few weeks ago. I remember we got up and we were going to go and visit a church that morning that we had kind of been considering visiting, but it was kind of bigger, and so we were a little bit afraid about going somewhere with it being a big place, and you hear all kinds of things, and I'm gonna let her tell you what happened after that.
So before she tells that, let me talk a little bit about this church. We were both raised in country churches. Well, you weren't so much. Your church, you were a city girl. I was raised.
I was not a city girl.
Well,
I mean, to you, I guess I
compared to
was.
where I was from, you were a city girl. But I was raised in a backwoods, little small church. We had a piano, and that's all we had.
Y'all had an organ, didn't you?
Well, we had an organ, and later,
a tambourine.
Later years, somebody bought an organ or donated an organ to the church. But that's the kind of church I was raised in. Well, this church that we started going to, we went to
that morning. We went to that particular.
The first morning I walked in, I thought we were at a Journey concert.
Yeah.
I mean, they had the lights, they had the fog machines going, they had the music rocking. I'm talking about it was
rocking.
I tell you how bad it is. Not bad. I like it. Yeah, I like it loud. But I tell you how loud it is. They have a bowl of earplugs when you walk in the door for anybody that can't take the loud music, and you can grab earplugs and put them in. I love it. But, I hear so many people say, well, why can't we do things like we did 100 years ago? God didn't need that stuff back then, and he don't need it now. God doesn't change. That's true. God does not change, but people have changed. Culture has changed. It takes a lot more to get people through the doors now.
Yeah, and I mean,
it did.
And especially you got teenagers and things like that. And,
tons of teenagers.
And they're listening to or looking at or being bombarded with all kinds of things, and they are a very... someone that's attached to screens and they're used to that kind of stuff, Yeah. And so this particular Sunday morning,
wait, I'm not done.
I'm sorry. Not done. Oh, sorry, Mark.
This church, I think they started this church about 5 years ago. And in the foyer, they have a wall, and on the wall it says, "This is our why." And they have tally marks on that wall. Every time they have a salvation, they'll put a tally mark on the wall. And there's almost 10,000 people that's been saved since that church opened.
Yeah, it was a lot. It's a lot.
It's unbelievable. The first Sunday we went, there was 48.
No, it was 68.
68
yes.
Saved and 48 baptized. Am I wrong on my numbers?
Yeah, it was 68 people that got baptized that day.
Yeah, it was 48 that got saved that day.
Yeah.
And it was 68 that got baptized. That's what it was. And that's in one service. They have 3 services a day, and they run, I'm going to say, anywhere from 600 to 1,000 people per service. And when you look at that wall and you see how many people have been saved there since it opened, how many people have been saved in your little church?
Well, yeah. I mean, God moves in different areas, in different ways.
Right. But these people that are condemning these churches for having this stuff, these churches have been around 100 years. They probably hadn't been 900 people saved in their church in 100 years. So my point is, if that's what it takes to get people in the door and get them saved, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
I think it's great.
Yeah, me too.
God don't need it. You're right. But people need it. It's something to get them in the door.
Well,
and you can't get them saved until you get them in the door.
Right. We had been praying for Lizzie, and so we decided to go that day. And that particular morning, she was not in a good mood.
Not at all.
Well, I'm not much of a morning person, and I don't like going to a new church, and I don't like going to a big church usually. So I wasn't super enthusiastic about it. They're over exaggerating it for sure. But yeah, I wasn't super excited about it, but I ended up liking it quite a bit.
What happened?
I ended up getting baptized randomly. It was very random, but they were like, if you want to get baptized, then come up. And I was like, okay. And Mom went with me, so.
Yeah, it was so amazing. They had their baptism during the praise and worship. And then at the end of the service, he said, look, we still got these tubs out here. The water's still hot. If anybody else wants to get baptized, come up. And how many? It was a bunch more that went up. It was like 30-something that went up afterwards.
Yeah, and the room that I went into, like where they were handing out like T-shirts and shorts and stuff, it was completely full. Like people were standing on the walls and stuff, and everybody was just sobbing, and it was like packed full of people.
Yeah. This place, then God's moving there. It's powerful.
And they didn't just take you in there and dunk you. I mean, while you were in that room, what happened?
They gave us like the guy in there, he was like, he kind of gave us like a little sermon, and he started crying. He was like overwhelmed by the amount of people that were in there, and so they prayed for us, and then we went out there and they prayed for us again before we got baptized. And it wasn't just like a let's just hurry up and get you out of here thing. Like, they actually took their time with everybody, and it was just like a special thing.
How old were you when you got saved, Lizzie?
I think 4. I think I was 4. Yeah, you tell that, because I don't remember it perfectly. I remember some of it, but you tell about that.
Well, I just remember that we were at home, and you had been going to children's church, but we were actually home, and you were in your room, and you came out of your room into the living room, and you told us that you just prayed and asked Jesus to come into your heart.
Well, I didn't remember that much, so.
Yeah, I remember it.
Yeah, I remember I got baptized when I was like 7, I think. 7. But I just needed it again, so I went ahead and did it twice. Yeah.
Well, we were sitting there, and I know you could see everything on that big screen that they had, and you could see everybody getting baptized. This was during the praise and worship, where they were baptizing people from the service prior. Because like you said, it was 3 services. They have 3 services on Sunday morning, and so you were watching them baptize people from the service prior. And what was going on in your head?
It wasn't the first, like, when we first got there, the people that were getting baptized that like made me think. It was like at the end of the service when people were going up to get baptized, which was just like random. I think that was what really got me thinking. And because I didn't know that the first people were like random. I thought they were like planned out. And it was just at the end of the service, and I was like, wow.
I think some of them were planned out. I think that they, they do have people know. I mean, that's what they normally do, and they do some coaching and things like that, and really talk to people. I mean, it's normally a planned out.
The first group was planned, but then at the end he said, "Look, we still got the tubs hot. If anybody else wants to be baptized,
right.
If you've been saved, you've given your heart to God, and you want to be baptized." Come on, and man, people just started pouring up there.
Yeah, there was so many people that got saved that morning that made a profession of faith, that came on forward and made that profession, and he was praying with them and everything. And I just remember looking over there, and Lizzie was standing on the other side of Mark, and I just remember looking over there, and I could tell by the look on your face that God was moving on you.
Yeah, I didn't really know what to say or like do. I was actually kind of embarrassed to like say anything. If you wouldn't have said something, I wouldn't have gone, I don't think. But I would have regretted not going, so I'm glad that you said something to me. Because she asked me, do you want to go? And I said, yeah, and we went. But if she wouldn't have said that, I don't think I would have gone, and I would have regretted it for sure. But
you're too shy.
I'm too shy. I'm too scared.
Well, one of the things I remember specifically that I said, are you wanting to go? And you said, I don't have any clothes. And I said, they have clothes for you. And so, that was a big thing right there. For them to be that prepared that they would have clothes for people.
Right.
Because you want to get baptized. And I'm old school. I remember the time when people were getting baptized. I remember one service in particular when I was 16 years old. People were getting baptized. They were running to the baptismal, jumping over in 3-piece suits. Yeah. I mean, I come back from the day when they were wearing 3-piece suits and stuff and jumping over in the baptismal. They were ready so much, So I've seen that kind of stuff, but mostly younger people, they haven't been around that a whole lot.
Yeah.
But I just saw God moving up on her. And for her to look at me and say, I don't have any clothes. Well, I knew immediately. I was like, they have clothes for you.
Yeah.
And I said, so are you wanting to go? And that's when you said yes. So I just held out my hand, and she put her hand in mine, and I went with her.
Yeah, I was so impressed with the church and the way they do things there. People say, well, Christianity's dying. Look, let me tell you something. God's moving. He's moving in places you wouldn't imagine, that you wouldn't think. I was shocked to see that many people at that service. And they do it 3 times every Sunday, and
Yes.
it packs out every service. That's amazing to me.
Yeah, and we had been praying for her and for God to move in her life. And Lizzie, you don't tell the story specifically. You don't have to say anything about that, but just kind of.
I got in a debate with these random guests. They were trying to talk to me about Jesus, and they were not talking about it in the correct way. And I was like, I don't think that's right.
I know, and when you got in the car and you started telling me what you were saying back, and she was just spouting scriptures one after another that I didn't even know that she knew. Well,
I don't know, I can't just quote scripture and say exactly where it's from. I told the guys, I was like, I remember hearing this. I've heard this my entire life. My mom is just screaming, shouting Christian. And I've been hearing this my whole life. And I was like, I don't think that's right, what you're saying. And I threw it at them. So,
well, basically what they were saying is, as long as you believed in Jesus, you could live however you wanted to live,
yeah.
and you were good.
Yeah, they were like, if you believe in God, then you can get into heaven. I was like, no, because Satan believes in God, and he's
exactly
evil, right?
Exactly, yeah. It's more than just believing he exists.
Right, that's crazy, but.
Well, this mama was proud. I just have to say, this mama's heart swelled, and she was proud of daughter that day.
Absolutely.
I'm proud of her all the time, but I was super proud when them scriptures started coming forth from that mouth.
Yep.
Because I tell them, what you put in front of your eyes and what you allow to go into your ears goes down into your heart, and it comes out your mouth.
Exactly.
And so, as we were talking earlier, the faith of a child and listening to your children. Well, not only listening to your children, but let me just tell you something, parents. Your children are listening to you.
Exactly.
And whether you realize
Absolutely.
it or not, whether you feel like they're hearing it, whether you feel like that it's getting deep down in their heart, it is.
Yep. I heard a preacher say one time, he said, if you call yourself a Christian, he said, somebody's watching you. He said, the world is really watching you, but there's somebody that's watching you and admiring you. So be careful. Don't let them down. Well, y'all got anything else y'all want to talk about?
I don't think so.
I think we're done. We've gone about 35 minutes, so we need to wind it up.
Okay, well, I had fun.
Well,
even though I was forced to do this.
Thank you,
I had
Lizzie,
fun.
for joining us today. It's been a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
All right, y'all send us a message or give us a like, thumbs up, subscribe, rate, review, whatever it is that you do, and let us hear from you. We are so thankful that y'all took the time out just to hear our little story, and we look forward to being with you again.
Thank you for joining us today on Tell Me That Story, and we will see y'all next time. God bless.
Bye-bye.